Welcome back. Today we're diving, really tumbling, right down the rabbit hole into Alice's adventures in Wonderland. Our mission, essentially, is to take this incredibly whimsical book, peel back some of those fantastical layers, and uncover the academic critiques, the real-world stuff hidden underneath.
And it's a really important mission, I think, because this book, back in 1865, it fundamentally shifted things in literature. It sort of pulled children's writing away from just being, purely didactic, only teaching morals, and aimed squarely at delighting, at entertaining. And the crucial thing to remember is the author, Lewis Carroll, well, he was actually Charles Dodgson, a serious mathematics stone at Oxford. That background is absolutely central.
Okay, yeah, let's unpack that origin story, because it really did start almost like a spontaneous moment, didn't it? Not some grand literary plan from the outset. It was literally thought up on a book trip, July 4th, 1862, on the Isis River, telling stories to Alice Liddell and her sisters.
Exactly, just an improvised story. And from that, he first wrote down a manuscript called Alice's Adventures Underground. But the version that got published, the one we all know, was about, well, roughly twice as long. He added famous bits like the Mad Hatter's Tea Party later. And here's a fascinating detail. That first print run, it was completely destroyed.
Destroyed. Why?
The illustrator, John Tenniel, insisted. He thought the print quality was terrible. So surviving copies from that very first attempt are incredibly rare. Like, only 22 known copies exist, making it one of the rarest books out there in English.
Wow. Okay, so if it started with real people on a boat trip,
Yeah.
what about the characters inside the book? You hear scholars talk about Alice as a Roman eclef, basically, a novel with a key, populated by caricatures of Carroll's actual friends, maybe colleagues.
Oh, absolutely. It seems pretty clear Carroll was using this fantasy world not just for fun, but yeah, for some pointed social and maybe academic commentary. Scholars have found all sorts of specific links. Carroll himself, for instance, is likely caricatured as the dodo. Yeah, because he had a bit of a stutter, apparently, and sometimes stumbled over his own name, Dodgson, making it sound like Dodo Dodgson. And the Lory and the eaglet, those seem to represent Alice Liddell's sisters, Lorena and Edith.
Okay, I get those. But wait, the Mock Turtle's teacher? The drawing master, who taught drawing, stretching, and fainting in coils. That sounds absurd. Who is that supposed to be?
That's probably the best one. It's almost certainly a direct parody of a very famous art critic, John Ruskin. Ruskin actually taught the Liddell children drawing and painting. His lessons were on, quote, drawing, sketching, and painting in oils.
Drawing, stretching, fainting in coils versus drawing, sketching, painting in oils.
Exactly. It's such a specific Victorian academic in-joke, almost buried in the text.
That hidden detail stuff, it brings us right back to Carroll the mathematician, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I read that some scholars even think the final version, the published book, was partly a kind of satire on some of the weird new mathematics emerging in the mid-19th century.
Well, the whole book is just saturated with logic puzzles, puns, language games. It definitely points to that mathematical mind. Like, remember when Pat is digging for apples? That joke only really lands if you know French.
Right, pomme de terre, potato, literally apple of the earth.
Exactly, a cross-language pun. But beyond the wordplay, look at the rules of Wonderland. Carroll's interest in systems seems to go beyond just logic. It gets into survival, physics almost.
You mean the whole theme of eating and devouring, the curious appetites idea?
Precisely. Alice is constantly changing size, right? Growing huge, shrinking tiny. And that keeps shifting her place in the food chain. She becomes hyper-aware of this eat or be eaten reality in Wonderland. Her loss of control over her own body is actually quite unsettling, a sort of image of mortality, maybe. Her identity is never stable.
And it must be that complexity, those darker bits maybe, that have kept the book so relevant. It's never been out of print, right? Translated into what, 174 languages? And inspired everything from, well, Disney movies to Japanese fashion. It's everywhere.
It really is. And what's so striking is the power of Wonderland's strange rules and its games. Alice keeps trying to find logic, apply rules she knows, in a world that's fundamentally irrational, which I think leaves a really interesting question for you listening now. If the Queen of Hearts world, with its crazy rules, is obviously nonsensical, well, what systems or rules do we live by that we just accept as rational simply because, we grew up inside them?